investments of $2 million from a donation made specifically for the purpose of defraying part of the cost of enlarging the hospital's pediatric center. And then what is required, it says show how these amounts should be reported in the hospital's statement of net position. Okay? So how are these amounts reported in the statement of net position? So again, number one, investments of $2 million from a donation made specifically for the purpose of defraying part of the cost of enlarging the hospital's pediatric center. If you turn back to page 730 is one, and then 733 there is a balance sheet, which is in essence a statement of net position. Right? Same type of thing. So 730 or 733. So number one, the $2 million would be reported. Make this bigger. The $2 million would be reported as assets restricted for plant purposes. Okay? So you can see that the clearest one, let's see, is, well, you can see it on both, but on 733, you'll see assets restricted for plant replacement and expansion. The same type of asset. Does that make sense? So it would be noted as an asset restricted for plant purposes. Okay? Number two, cash and investments totaling $750,000 that the hospital board has designated for use for the expansion of the pediatric center. This, again, would be reported as assets that are limited, but they're not restricted. They're limited to use because of the board's internal designation, right? And you'll see on 733 the differences, how those are noted. So if you look on 733 under non-current assets, it shows that some assets are limited as to use by internal designation, and some assets are restricted. Okay? So those are the differences between 1 and 2. Number 1 is restricted because of the donor. Number 2 is internally designated. Okay?
Is that just a nomenclature difference?
Well, it's a semantic difference, but it does mean something. If that's your question, it does mean something in that if you're looking at this balance sheet for a hospital, or we have things that are internally designated, we count those in our unrestricted funds as opposed to in our restricted funds.
But it's like a subclass within unrestricted funds.
Yes, correct. Yeah, it's a subclass within unrestricted funds, but it's still under the umbrella. So the way that affects us is when we run different ratios